Hi, Eason here, and it's time for a new track review. This time, the new Imperial Triumphant single that just came out, Rotted Futures. The last time we saw this New York three-piece experimental metal outfit, they were busy writing the magnum opus of their career thus far. One of the best albums of 2018, the indomitable Vile Luxury, a schizophrenic, tense, and insanity-inducing ride on the night side of New York City. Now, Imperial Triumphant is preparing to return on July 31st, 2020 with their new full-length release, Alphaville. In heralding the upcoming record, the band has also released a lead single and an accompanying music video for the opening track of the album, Rotted Futures. Imperial Triumphant's basic sound can, I think, best be described as a avant-garde freeform jazz take on extremely dissonant and progressive black metal that has hopped up on way too much goddamn MDMA that was decidedly cut with too much speed. And if that sounds too abstract, it's probably because Imperial Triumphant's music itself is just that abstract. The song is built on chaos. It is filled to the brim with janky, syncopated rhythms, extremely disharmonious and dissonant chords, and the vocals don't really do anything to bring any of the other elements together. I mean, if you suffer from some sort of an anxiety disorder, this song might even trigger you. It is just that disorienting. The band's real talent is holding together songs that are tied almost too loosely together from almost completely independent sections of guitars, bass, drums, and vocals. This is best exemplified throughout Rotted Futures in the way that at any given time, if two elements are in complete or at least near harmony with each other, you can count on the other two elements being almost completely out of sync. For example, at some points, the dissonant riffs brought forward by the guitars are accompanied by the syncopated rhythms of the drums, but the drums sometimes veer away from the guitars and start doing their own thing while the bass comes back in to accompany the guitars. This is sort of how the song is put together. Rather than every single instrument driving the song in one single direction, it's more that the band members are constantly orbiting around one another, and their orbit is the song that you are hearing. And what this means is that the song at times just approaches precariously close to being a garbled mess of just instruments going every which way, a line that the band, impressively enough, never really cross. It is no mean feat holding a song together while dissonant chords cascade down, the bass just skitters off, and the drums reach a nearly arrhythmic fever pitch on the side, and bringing that together in a cohesive whole. As you might be gathering, the picture that is painted by Imperial Triumphant is an anxiety-inducing, dismal Art Deco nightmare-scape of a city. Rotted Futures, for the most part, seems to be geared towards disorienting the listener as much as possible while still gripping them and keeping them tightly in place. Sort of like life in New York. Seriously, if there was any song that perfectly captures the daily grind, the rush of the workday, and or the feverish rush hour of New York City, this would be it. Rotted Futures is actually an interesting case of observing how elements that create the music move. What I mean by that is this. Throughout the songs, the guitars, the drums, the main elements that make the music come together, they harmonize, and then they disharmonize and drift apart. And as a result of this, the sound contracts and expands, contracts and expands. And because this happens at irregular intervals, this sort of breathing motion embedded into the very soul of the song creates the effect of abject and abstract anxiety. You are constantly treated to a disorienting, disorganized, or seemingly disorganized, chaotic mess of a sound that fucks you all up. As per the lyrical content of the song, much like the music, it is focused on painting a rather Jackson Pollock-like portrait of modern life, where the almost suicidal anxiety brought forward by the various demands of the modern world crush the individual down. When I say it crushes the individual down, though, I don't mean this in a anti-capitalistic fuck the system type of way. I don't think this song has any basis in politics whatsoever. It is more focused on the promise of a bright future that is constantly being pumped into the brains of every single person that busts their ass working dead-end jobs or jobs that they do not perceive as dead-end in trying to create this bright future that never seems to get created. It is sort of like distilling the everyday existential dread of the office drone into one potent mix, a mindfuck of a song, and then serving it to you, the listener, to process. So, for a song that is built almost entirely on disharmony of the elements that comprise it, the lyrical content seems to be what is in most harmony with the rest of the track. The production job that was pulled on Rotted Futures, as one imagines would be the case for the album to follow, is incredibly well done. It is wonderfully dynamic with lots of breathing room, and every instrument comes through loud and clear, and it is done without costing the sound its rather raw edge. Not over-polishing Imperial Triumphant's sound is always the right way to go, because if this was polished a little too much, then it would undoubtedly dull the overall impact of the sound. All in all, if you are a fan of Imperial Triumphant, then you have every reason to break out your Xanax, because I think they're going to shake our world one more time. If you're not a fan of Imperial Triumphant, I do suggest that you go back to Vile Luxury or the album preceding it, The Wonderful Abyssal Gods, to start, because as wonderful as I find Imperial Triumphant sound, it is decidedly not for everyone. It takes a little time to get acclimated to the sound, and as a result of this, it might not be your cup of tea in first or maybe even the 10th lesson. I mean, you're not obligated to like it or anything. Well, for my money though, I am fucking excited to see what these three madmen are gonna bring to us next. Alphaville is out on July 31st via Century Media Records. Until next time, it's Sin. Peace out. Fuck me, I gotta go take my meds.